Hello, my dear friends from all over the world. What's up, people? Is everything okay with you guys? Talking to you is your friend, an English teacher from Brazil. Do you remember me? My name is Rafael. I came to this small town close to my city. The city here is called Goianá. And I chose this location here because it is calm and because my family has a house here and I have to take care of the house. And this video is going to be about empowerment of minorities, how to overcome shyness, how to be fluent, how to speak your own mind, your own way, and how to be yourself, not a copy of someone else. All right, my friends? So, this is going to be a debate about the empowerment of minorities, the empowerment of the people, less value to capital, less value to money, objects, less value to cars, less values to shoes and bags, and more value to people, the empowerment of people. Let me tell you a little bit of my story. I am native of Portuguese. My native tongue is Brazilian Portuguese. But of course, Portuguese did not originate in Brazil. The Portuguese language has its roots in Portugal, and the Portuguese discovered the land, discovered Brazil, and they brought to here their culture, their religion, and the manner of living, and the royal family came to Brazil. Okay, much later during Napoleon rule in Europe, the Portuguese court came to Brazil and the King of Portugal lived in Brazil for a while. And the Portuguese enslaved the Africans here in Brazil. The Africans were enslaved here in my country. So this is what happened in our history, in our past. And not only the Portuguese aristocracy, but also the doctors, the engineers, the lawyers, they all came from Portugal. And the way they spoke Portuguese was considered the standard, all right? Not the local way. Of course, the locals could speak Portuguese. Brazilians have had their own way of speaking Portuguese since the beginning, since the inauguration of the country. But the standard, what was considered the norm, was the way Portuguese was spoken in Portugal, not the way Brazilians spoke Portuguese. But after the Declaration of Independence, Brazilians became proud of the way Portuguese is spoken here in Brazil, and not anymore. We refer to Portugal as the standard, as the only way of properly speaking Portuguese. Okay, my friends, let me show you the city, the square where I'm at, while I speak about our past and how to declare independence of your own way of speaking. Okay, so why did I bring about the topic of language? Because I am a linguist. If you know me, you're gonna remember that I am a linguist. I am an engineer. My main graduation is electrical engineering. I studied electrical engineering at the Federal University of Juiz de Fora, one of the main institutions for tertiary education of Latin America. And I am an electrical engineer, I am a linguist, and of late I've been studying psychology to overcome shyness because I was extremely shy when I was young. And the shyness prevented me from interacting with people, mainly women. Some may say that it is part of culture because boys play with boys and girls play with girls, but later on I discovered that it was not only culture, it was inhibition, it was lack of mutual ground, lack of understanding. And by understanding through psychology the forces that intimidate you, the forces that put you down, you are going to discover what I discovered through the study of psychology. Okay, I was speaking that the Portuguese is the patriotic language of Brazil, but Portuguese was not created here in Brazil. Portuguese was brought to Brazil by the Portuguese, people from Portugal. And after the Declaration of Independence, the Brazilian Portuguese became independent, became our pride, the way Brazilians speak Portuguese, which is different from the way Portuguese is spoken in Portugal. And the English is the same. English is not standard. There is not only one way of speaking English. There are many varieties, many versions of English. English from North America, English from the Caribbean, English from Europe, English from Africa, and English from Asia, especially English from India. English is an official language in India, but it is very different from the language of the colonizer. In Indian English is very much different from British English. And this video is about your Declaration of Independence, whether it be Brazilian Portuguese, whether it be English. English is yours. You don't have to copy the way the British or North Americans speak English. That's why some of my students, some people study English for 10, 15, 20 years and they never achieve fluency. That's why, because they believe that their own way of speaking English is not valid, that the only way of properly speaking English is to mimic, to emulate, to copy the British and North Americans speak English. So the Declaration of Independence of your English is to recognize that English is an international language, not only the language spoken by a select group, the aristocracy of Britain, or the wealthiest in the United States. Okay, my friends. So I would like to talk to you about empowerment. I would like to talk to you about creating local content in English and show to the world your local town, your village, the particularities of your neighborhood, your small city, as I'm doing here at this moment. And I was talking to you about empowerment because language gives us the kind of empowerment that animals do not have, the brute, the most violent, do not have. Okay, my friends, for example, I couldn't speak with women when I was young because of shyness, because of lack of empowerment. We associate empowerment through the accumulation of resources, cars, and houses, and the amount of money that you earn. And this is sexy, yes, of course, it is sexy when women see that you have a car, that you have a high salary, they will be attracted to you, but not all. Not every woman is like this. Some women do appreciate friendship, conversation. And you guys, if you are educated, if you are gentle, if you have knowledge of the world, if you know how to communicate properly, but not only communication, if you know how to solve problems, if you know physics, chemistry, if you know engineering, geography, history, you have something to speak about, don't you? Yes, you know the world, you know how the world works, and you are an interesting person because you have got content, okay? And through the exercise of education, through politeness, you are going to demonstrate that you are better than people that have only money on their behalf. Okay, you may be dispossessed, you may be a low income person, a person in vulnerability, but you are educated, you are extremely educated, you have content, and this is how you are going to be appealing to people, not talking only about women, about the elderly as well, about the children, the elderly specifically. Let's talk about the elderly. Old people don't care if you have got a car. Old people don't care if you have got a high salary. Old people care about education, about manners, about how polite and gentle and kind the person is, isn't it? Yes, I loved my grandmother. My grandmother treated me so well, and I was so kind to her. And I know how to talk to old people, they are very good. And the children as well, you can talk to children, and children will notice that you are an educated man, that you appreciate them, that you are not violent, specifically, that you are not violent, that you are a good guy, and they will respect you for that, for being good and gentle with them. Okay, my friends, I'm talking about empowerment here through language. How language can empower you in being a good person, a law-abiding citizen. Okay, do not fear the police. Talk to the police. The police is good. Let's talk on the police right now. I was born in a violent neighborhood in Juiz de Fora, my city, and the people there don't like the police because they have drug dealers and bandits as their heroes. I don't know why, but these people grow up in a wrong culture. This culture that champions bandits and drug dealers and violent people that offer immediate gratification, but they do not offer to you a long-term planning, okay, a plan of future. You have to respect people that offer to you a future, not immediate gratification. And drug dealers are this kind of people that care more about immediate gratification than your future. Okay, so you have to care about your future, not immediate gratification. and you have to study. There is nothing better for you than studying and working to build your future. All right, my friends, and now you talk to the police and you are a law abiding citizen, you have nothing to fear. If you are driving your car and the police stop you, you have nothing to fear. You simply give your documents and everything is fine. You have to regard the police not your enemy. You have to see the police as a person that is doing his job only. As I'm doing my job right now, I am talking to you about philosophy, about the empowerment of minorities. You have to feel empowered by justice, not by revenge. Justice. If you believe in justice, if you believe that you don't have anyone to fear, that the police is your friend, because the police follow rules, okay? Drug dealers, bandits, these people do not follow rules. The police follow rules, and the rules that the police follow are the rules of the judiciary of Brazil, for example, or the judiciary of your country, my friends. So you have to believe in justice, do not believe in revenge, believe in justice, and justice will empower you. The law will empower you, not revenge, not immediate gratification. Justice is not made at the moment, right now. Justice is made with time. In due time, justice will be made. Okay, my friends? So, believe in justice, believe in communication, believe in the empowerment through knowledge and through the communicative approach. And by talking to people and by presenting information and showing that you are gentle, that you are kind, that you know how to talk to people, that you have good manners, you are going to be understood, you are going to be appreciated rather than the person that seeks immediate gratification, that wants results in the moment. In this way, you are going to feel empowered and less shy. As I was shy, it's because the root cause of my shyness is that education is taught wrong in schools. I didn't learn how to speak Portuguese, my native tongue, in school. My mother and my father and my family members taught me how to speak Portuguese. In school, I merely learned grammar, and in school they didn't encourage debates, they didn't encourage dialogues, especially among men and women or boys and girls. If this kind of dialogue among boys and girls, men and women was encouraged in school, we would be less shy and violent to each other, isn't it? In English as well, when I went to my English course, it was only the teacher speaking, not me. I could never speak, and this kind of dialogue was never encouraged. This kind of debate was never encouraged. Okay, we separate, boys do this and girls do that. We don't encourage girls to do what boys do, and we don't encourage boys do what girls do, because we live in a very conservative and masculine society. We mock men. We mock boys and we mock men that play with women, with children, girls specifically. We mock boys that play with girls because we don't want them to have the same talking the same topics that the girls have, and the contrary as well. We don't like girls playing with boys, so we segregate them, we separate them. That's why we raise violent children. We raise violent boys and people that rely more on violence than education, because our boys cannot talk to girls and our girls cannot talk to boys because they don't have a common ground. They need to have a common ground, a common understanding, a common childhood. When boys are capable of doing what girls do, and when girls are capable of doing what boys do, we get rid of this shyness, of this violence, of, all right, extremism. Okay, my friends. All right, some girls do play soccer, isn't it? That's very nice. That's very nice. When girls play soccer, it is very nice when girls play soccer. I like seeing girls playing soccer. And what if a boy plays volleyball? What if a boy plays volleyball? What is the discrimination about? Why do we discriminate such an act, such an exercise? Okay, some boys like volleyball and we discriminate. We don't like when boys play volleyball. That's a discrimination that is highly unwanted, because volleyball is a common ground. Volleyball is a good common ground in which boys and girls can interact with each other, they can talk, they can mingle and have a common ground. Not only volleyball, there are other activities that boys and girls can perform together, and in this way we are be less inhibited, less intimidated, rely less on violence to interact and to appeal to each other, isn't it, my friends? All right, my good boys, all right. This is the video that I wanted to make and to show this small town that I am currently living in. Okay, I love here because of the calmness, because of the peace that I feel here. I am so at ease now. I am so at ease now. It is very peaceful. Okay, it is a good afternoon here. Can you see how peaceful this town is? I am feeling as comfortable here as I would be in my house at the moment. And about the empowerment of minorities, about the empowerment of the people through language. Yes, we need to make boys and girls interact more, and we need to foster activities that would enable them talk to each other, okay? All right, such as volleyball, such as other childhood plays that they can practice, because in this way they will grow up less intimidated by each other, okay? For girls, boys will be less violent if they have a root together, a history together. And I interacted a lot with boys when I was young. I interacted a lot with girls when I was young, because I lived in an open society that fostered communication, that allowed communication and friendship without sex. Without sex, this topic of sex should be abandoned and substituted by other kinds of conversation, like mathematics, like languages, like history and geography, like childhood plays, instead of this topic of sex. Because when we separate boys and girls too much, the only topic will be sex. But if we allow them have a common childhood, there will be other topics for conversation. They will study together, they will talk about Portuguese, they will talk about geography, they will talk about mathematics, they will talk about languages, they will talk about many other things aside from sex, okay? When there is this tension, this segregation, this separation between boys and girls, boys will see only sex in girls and girls will only see sex in boys. There will be no relationship other than this. But if they have a common ground, a common yes, a common childhood full of entertainment together, ranging from school and other issues, sex will be the last. They will not think about sex. They will see each other as friends, okay? You can have a best friend who is a girl. You can have a best friend who's a boy. Okay, I know this person and she's my best friend, but she is a girl. We don't talk about sex. We never talk about sex. Sex is not the subject of our conversation. We speak about mathematics, we speak about languages, we speak about religion, we speak about many other things, but not sex. Okay, we can have best friends from the other gender without it being about sex, okay? So this is how you overcome shyness, by regarding women as friends, not as objects of your sexuality. Okay, my friends? And let's communicate, let's use English and Portuguese in our own manner. Let's reject the European standard and let's declare our Brazilian Portuguese and our international English.